Hi everybody, Don Giannatti, Lighting Essentials, lighting-essentials.com. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how long it should take for you to be a really good photographer. And my answer is, I don't know. I know I have some feelings on how you get there, but I don't know how long it's going to take you to get there because I don't know your level of commitment. I don't know your level of, hitting the ground running and just getting out and getting it done. I know a lot of photographers, and some who are going to watch this are going to know I'm talking about them, who are good to go. They've got a beautiful portfolio. They've got the work. They've got the work ethic. They've got everything, but they're just not going to pull the trigger on that marketing. If you don't market, nothing happens. Zero. Now you might say, well, I don't have the money to do these big, long promotions and stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anything you can do. Marketing counts, whether it's Instagram or email or direct mail. I mean, everything has to build towards building your credibility. So I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book a couple of years ago, and a lot of people throw this number around of 10,000 hours. Well, it takes 10,000 hours to be good at something. Well, if you practice playing the saxophone wrong for 10,000 hours, are you going to be good at it? If you practice driving wrong for 10,000 hours, are you going to be good at it? Or are you going to be doing it wrong? Really well. Wrong. See, the part of the 10,000 hours and the question of how long it takes to get to be a good photographer that's missing is, how much effort are you going to put into it? How much talent do you have? And will your effort override your lack of talent if you're not extremely talented? We all know about the basketball player that wasn't the greatest basketball player, but he was the first on the field in the morning for drills, and he was still shooting free shots at the end of the day, and he's the guy that goes on and plays at the Olympics. Because while his talent wasn't the best, his work ethic overshot any talent discrepancies and built him into that point where it could work. And I think that's really, really fascinating. A real fascinating way for you to think about your work. How much effort are you putting into it? Now, when I talk about practice, I talk about perfect practice. Perfect practice makes perfect execution. If you practice something wrong, you will have built into your abilities, your psyche, your movement forward, the ability to do that wrong well. And now you've got to not only change what you've been doing, you've got to work that out of your workflow and into the new workflow to do it right. I think that trial and error is a big part of what we do. Trying to get a photograph, working that photograph, pushing the envelope of your creativity, getting out beyond the scope of where you expected it to be is always going to be a big part of making you a better photographer. And that takes time. If you have an evil day job, it's going to cut into some of that other time you have. If some of that other time you have is spent in front of the television or some sports thing, you need to change it up, because you'll never get good at photography by sitting on the couch watching a football game. You're never going to get good at photography by laying around the house and doing nothing. You're never going to get good at photography if you spend all your time doing stuff that's not photographically related. Does that make sense? You have to do this. If you're going to learn to play the bass, I love the bass. If you're going to learn to play the bass, I would say you need a bass and you need to practice it, because it's a hard instrument to learn to play. You certainly aren't going to learn to play the bass watching Game of Thrones. I think that you can find a mentor or a group of people to act as a mentor to help keep you focused and on that road to getting work done. You have to measure yourself against something. And while I generally caution you not to measure yourself against other photographers, oh, he's so much better than I am. Oh, she's so much better than I am. Better? We're different. I don't know about better. I don't know better. I mean, sometimes it's easy to spot better, but I don't always know better. I mean, some of the photographers I know will say, oh, that guy's so much better. No, that guy's been doing it for 20 freaking years, and you've only been doing it for 4. So maybe his presentation comes off a little more full-bodied. You think? You got to have some unique work. And while you're struggling to get that work, you're struggling with the techniques of the camera. You're struggling with aperture and shutter speed and the inverse square law and lighting and gear and which lens and how these lenses work differently and how to light a subject and all of these things. This is all technical stuff, and you've got to learn it. I get so upset when I talk to photographers who don't know their reciprocals. It makes me crazy. I mean, it's so easy. It's just easy. I get crazy when they don't understand the inverse square law. You can take a light, measure one distance with the light with a tape measure, measure that light full power at 10 feet. You now have your exposure for that light. Put it in a softbox, kill 2 stops. Duh! It's not hard. There's not even that much math except double and half. Double and half. But they don't learn it. And then they struggle with making their images unique because they're still struggling with the technical aspect. You got to get that technical aspect under your belt. How long does that take? I think to learn your reciprocals and learn how the inverse square law works and to do that sort of thing takes about a week. If you're still watching Game of Thrones. Learning what lenses do and all that takes a little bit longer because now you're transferring a visual property into your brain and figuring out how that works. Where does this lens go to give me what I want? Then you get into the phase of making the photographs. And when you're making the photographs, all that technical stuff sort of blends into the background. And the camera becomes just a part of you. It's an extension of your brain. It's your tool, just like a brush in an artist's hands or a keyboard in an author's, hands. Author doesn't spend very much time learning how to type. If that's what they're doing, it's going to be real hard to write a novel because they're struggling with the typing. They learn to type first, then they write a novel, even if they're only using one finger. Imitate, assimilate, innovate. That's how you start to build a book, a body of work, a created series of images that look like your images. When I say it's got to be unique, I'm not talking that you have to do, you're like the only guy on the planet that's ever done this. Oh my gosh, you're the only guy that's ever done it. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your images need to be uniquely your images. Yours. And that unique quality says that you are the author. So you spend time doing it. Then you start marketing your work. And then you start pushing out locally, then regionally, then nationally. How long does it take? Well, realistically, I think that you can get going locally from the time you start making photographs, which means you already know your reciprocals, you already know the inverse, you already know the technical aspects of making a good capture, putting it in Photoshop and getting a nice sharp picture. You know that? I think it's going to take you 2 to 3 to 4 years to build up locally, another couple of years for regional, and another couple of years after that. So 4 to 8 years to national. And that's pushing hard. So how long does it take to become a good photographer? It takes a while. I see some people trying to do it in a weekend. Just not going to work for them. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon. Thanks.